Hi folks, welcome back to my channel. Some of you may have seen a video that I put a couple of weeks ago where I took this tent here, the MSR Elixir 1, up to the Brecon Beacons for its first proper test on a little wild camp there. And in that video there I showed some of the features of the tent, but I didn't really want that video to be a kind of first impression stroke review of the tent. So I've come down to my local fields today, pitched the tent up, and I'm going to use some of the footage that I took on that wild camp along with what I've done today to show you how to put the tent up and what I thought about it basically. So yeah, I hope you guys are going to find this useful.
My name's John and I make videos on camping, astronomy and walking. If you like what you see in this video, then please check my channel out, as there may be others that interest you there. But in the meantime, let's crack on with today's video.
So I'm going to be camping in the MSR Elixir 1 tent tonight, which as the name suggests is a one-person tent. But it's a really roomy one-person tent. It's got loads of headroom, so if the weather is poor it's not too bad to sit in and sit the bad weather out. But I'll show you around it a bit later on. So the pack size is 48 centimetres by 15 centimetres, and the weight is about 2.1 kilos, just a little bit below I think. So let's have a look what's inside the bag. So there are pitching instructions on the bag itself. You get a ground sheet, poles, pegs, the fly sheet and the inner. You get 10 pegs, which is a bit annoying because you actually need 11 to pitch everything out. And basically there are 2 poles here that are joined with a sort of hub and a crossing pole there. So the first thing to do is to loosely put the inner over the ground sheet and just peg them out loosely to start with. So you get 2 main poles, one's red and one's silver, and they're joined by this little hub here, and there's another hub up the other end of the pole set. So the first thing to do is to just clip the poles together in the normal way. And I've actually got one joint here that seems to be a little bit tight always, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of grease on that to sort of help that
you can tell where the front of the tent is
because of the MSR logo on there, and that's on the door side. So you'll notice here that the inner has some colour coded straps. There's silver there and red there, and the same on the other side of the tent. So the idea is you put the end of the silver pole in the silver strap and the red pole goes in the red strap, and you push the pole through the strap for both the inner tent and the ground sheet below it.
And what's interesting to note here is that the poles don't cross diagonally across the tent, they actually run along the same side of the length. So the red pole you can see here actually runs along the far side of the tent, and the silver pole runs on the near side of the tent, albeit the silver pole crosses the red here and then comes back on itself there. So now what we've got to do is clip the inner to these poles, and the inner has colour coded clips, so there's silver ones and there are red ones. So obviously you clip the silver one onto the silver pole.
red one onto the red pole, and then you just work your way along. So there's another red one. Now I've got the last clip to go on a silver pole, and that's it. So that creates quite a nice taut structure. The crossing pole that I mentioned here that goes across the roof of the tent sits on top of the two poles that run along the length of the tent, and the inner clips on with a toggle here and one at the other side, and that brings the roof right up and makes the walls really vertical to massively increase the internal space in the tent. You can see here how much that crossing pole has pulled out the top of the tent, creating all this extra space inside. Now in good weather, you know, when it's hot and stuff, you could actually just leave the tent like this, obviously peg it down better than I have, and that would be really nice. Like if the weather was beautiful outside and you knew it wasn't going to rain. There's quite a lot of mesh on the tent, good to prevent condensation and keep ventilation going, but privacy perhaps isn't that great if you're just leaving it pitched like this. But now we'll put the outer, apologies, on. And the trick with the outer is to connect it to these two points here first, and then peg the rest of it out, apparently. I found that works for me, and it seems to be what other people have found as well. The other trick's making sure you get the door the right way round, and the side with the door is the side with the MSR logo on it. You can find where the toggles are that clip onto that crossbar here, because they're connected to the outer where these red triangles are, so that's how you kind of track them down on the underside of the fly sheet. So now it's just a matter of pegging out the fly. And then the outer here fits to the corresponding pole underneath the inner and the ground sheet clips. Although having said that, I have seen people clip this out separately as well. And it's possible to tighten the fly up with these adjustment straps here to make it all even and tight. So now we've just got to peg out the vestibule here and the back side of the tent. So the final job's to peg out the guy lines, and the slightly annoying thing here is I've got 3 pegs and 4 guy lines left. So there's not quite enough pegs to do the job. Don't quite know why MSR would have done that. The pegs, incidentally, are these sort of lightweight round alloy ones. They're actually quite easy to bend. I tripped over one and bent one of mine already. So what I did was, initially I was looking for the MSR. I think they're groundhog pegs, but can't get hold of them for love nor money. So I just got some cheap pegs like this, similar to the groundhogs, off of Amazon, just to supplement what I've got for this tent. And I think I paid about £10 or £12 for a sort of bag of 10. They're not too bad. They seem fairly strong because of their construction. The only thing against them is if you have to push hard on that end there, it's quite painful on your hand. So you end up either using your boot or a little hammer. So that's basically the setup. It's quite quick, which is just as well being in a pitch first. I think it's actually quite a nice looking tent. So that's our pitch now. So that's me set up then. Marvellous.
This ain't walk through the door. I'm hit by the same old tide, blinded by the lights, and I'm going through changes, but it's easier with you. I'm going through changes, and so are you. And I find the moments when you're around me.
So the stats for the tent then, as I've said, the weight is I think about 2.1 kilos. The outer is something like 70 denier ripstop nylon. I'll notice here there's a rain gutter, which is quite a nice little feature. The porch has 2 degrees of opening. There's this here, and it can also be rolled further open, as you can see here. So there's actually quite a lot of versatility in the porch, and the porch incidentally is absolutely huge. The hydrostatic head of the outer is on the face of it quite low. It's about 1500 millimeters, I think. It's coated with a durable water resistant coating, which apparently gives it an extra 2,000 or 3,000 millimeters. So yeah, I haven't had the chance to test it out in heavy rain yet, but I'm not actually expecting it to leak. I haven't really heard any bad reports of it in that respect. The inner fabric I think is about 40 denier, and the floor has a hydrostatic head of about 3,000 millimeters. And then you've got the ground sheet, of course, underneath that. So again, I wouldn't expect any leaks through that. Not sure whether you can see that from here, but the seams are tape sealed, they're taped up. I think they weren't doing that for a while, but they've seemed to have started doing that now, certainly for the UK market. So again, I'm not expecting any leaks to come through those seams anytime soon. You can see here how big the porch is in this tent. So that's a 65 litre rucksack, and the porch has still got loads of space, and this bit here for my cooking gear. And inside the tent there's still a lot of space as well. There's a mesh pocket at the foot end, and one at the head end, and up here is like a bit of loft space on that side and that side. So there's lots of storage inside the tent. So there's also 4 loops for either hanging a lantern up or running like a drying line or something like that up. And there's quite a lot of headroom as well. I'm sort of between 5'8" and 5'9", and I've got a good sort of 6 inches above my head easily. Well, that's me tucked up in bed now, and I'm extremely comfortable. But yeah, the livability of this tent, for a one-man tent, which I'm not a fan of generally, is really, really good. It's absolutely enormous. The sort of headspace and whatever that you've got in this thing means that getting changed into your gym jams or putting coats on and all that sort of thing is no problem whatsoever. And the enormous porch means that getting your boots on and off is no issue. And certainly the storage inside here is incredible. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed, to be honest. It's the first proper test of this tent. So yeah, I've been very pleased with that, and I shall say good night for now, unless anything untoward happens overnight, and see you in the morning. So yeah, good night. Well, that was a really good camp. Yeah, so it was nice to pitch out higher up than I normally do. It's very peaceful, and yeah, I enjoyed the MSR Elixir 1 tent. So those of you who've watched my video of the wild camp in this tent will know I had a really nice night out in it, and I was very impressed with it. So yeah, my thoughts on it really are, it's a little bit heavy, but for me that's not an issue. I'm used to carrying a two-person tent that weighs 3.2 kilos, so 2.1 is actually a significant weight reduction for me. That weight's coming from the use of robust fabrics like the 68 denier outer fabric, so that should make it quite a robust tent. Compared to the MSR Hubber, or Hubber NX, which is its kind of next one up in the tree, if you like. This is quite a lot heavier, but I also suspect quite a lot more robust. The fact that it has two poles that cross over each other twice, I suspect might mean that it's better in the wind than the Hubber. Although I'll be interested to hear people's thoughts on that. One thing that generally I don't like about tents is inner pitch first. This is pretty fast to pitch, so I suspect that's not too much of an issue. I did wonder whether it's possible to pitch it outer first and clip the inner in, because it's possible to rig this tent up with the ground sheet and just put the fly sheet over the top of it for a nice lightweight shelter with bags of space inside. And I wasn't sure whether it would be possible to then clip the inner in at that point. Having had a proper look at it, I'm not convinced that's possible, but somebody's managed that. Maybe they could let me know. Things I didn't like about the tent, I think the fact that you're missing a peg, I think that's a bit petty for the sake of one peg. Pegs are quite low quality, but that's easily remedied for not too much money, as is the missing peg. Not sure why I've got a slightly sticky joint, but I think I've resolved that on the poles. But yeah, the space inside this tent is incredible. I'm not really a fan of one-man tents because I like a bit of space, but certainly this tent, I can see me getting quite a lot of use out of this because I was really comfortable in it. Never felt cramped, could sit up, no problems at all. I suspect you could even kneel up in it if you wanted to. Lots of porch space, so bad weather's not going to be an issue. So yeah, so overall, as you might have seen from my video of the camp, I really did enjoy the camp in this tent, and I'm expecting to have a lot of pleasure out of it. It's not that expensive either. It seems to retail between about £180 and £220 at the moment, depending on where you get it. I think I got mine from Go Outdoors, but I can't remember. But lots of retailers do it. I've gone for the sort of olive green colour because a lot of my camping's in the southeast where you've got to be a bit discreet. There's also one with like a silver fly and a red door that actually looks quite nice, but I think might stand out too much for me, so hence going for the green one. Yeah, so overall dead chuffed. I hope you found this video useful, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheerio.